Hello, everybody. Jason Sarney here with a Dolfan chat, courtesy of Dolphins Weekly, and of course, my friends over at DWA, Dolphins with Attitude, and Miami Sports Music. I have a very special guest tonight. Can't wait to bring him in. Staple in South Florida media, obviously Dolphin centric. This man knows the deal. We're going to bring in my friend Orlando Alzagari Jr., Big O himself. How are you, Big O?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Jason? You doing good, man?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, we saw each other over in Canton for the Zach Thomas Hall of Fame induction. You want to bring us back? What were your favorite moments? I remember one specific one, but what was your favorite?
No, I mean, us gathering around Shula's bust, that to me was the highlight of everything besides, getting to meet you. We've always been back and forth on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and Big E and, and Dolph Freaky and, everybody, all the people, 305 Sports Babe, all the folks that, that I met throughout listeners that obviously support the show all throughout the world, actually, because Martin Lydon, I know his name from England, from Fins Nation UK, baby, Fins Nation UK. We support it all. And so, it was just fun to just interact with. To me, that was the second favorite thing, besides all of us gathering around Shula's bust and doing something that I wanted to do 2 years ago, but the pandemic hit. It was the JT stuff, and I wanted us to go gather up, but then that whole pandemic stuff, so I stayed away and kind of ruined. I didn't go to the JT one because I went to the Marino one, which, by the way, Hall of Fame, can you please make one of these for me for Zach? Because I really wanted to buy one for Zach, man. And they didn't have it, so it broke my heart that I couldn't get my Zach one. But so I went for Marino. I didn't go for Taylor, and I wanted to do the get together there. And so I was so glad that we did it out there. I thought it was really cool. We were also very organized. We allowed the people to go through. We didn't form any ruckus, so it was. I was really proud of us. We behaved, and that was.
You did a great job setting it together. I mean, weeks in progress on Twitter. You were organizing that.
We tried, bro. We tried, and your help and everybody else's spreading the word, and then we all met there. And so, and I love the fact that outside of Cleveland, which they should be, the Dolphin Nation was the strongest fan base that was there. I thought that made me proud too, because people talk a lot of crap about our fan base, and our fan base is actually absolutely phenomenal. The problem is people talk a lot of crap, but they don't really, deal with the fan base like I have for 30 years now. And so I deal with fans from all over the world. I know how strong our fan base is. It's just, I know that we haven't gotten over the top and they haven't won and all that kind of stuff. And they weren't figuring stuff out for like 2 decades, but here they come. So I think they figured things out already. So we'll see.
It's great. At the end of that fight song, and for anyone who doesn't know, we did a fight song right in front of Shula's bust for the Zach Thomas induction that whole couple of days we were there. And at the end of it, I don't know if it was impromptu, if you planned it, but that line that you had, we start in Canton, we end in the Super Bowl. We started the Hall of Fame, we ended the Super Bowl.
We end in the Super Bowl. And no, it wasn't planned. It was just one of those things that I felt like that's how we have to end it, because that's where we're going to end it. It's going to end in the Super Bowl this year. I'm the crazy nut that thinks they're going to win 12, 13 games and they're going to win this division. And I think they're going to shock a lot of people and they're going to be in the Super Bowl. And I expect to be in Vegas, and I'm sure you'll be there with me, Jason, and the entire Dolphin Nation. So we're going to be all over Vegas in early February. I can tell you that. So.
Oh, that is a sight to see and imagine in my head. And you know what? That was our kickoff to this quick little show here. And we're going to now go into our first down. And what does a lot of teams like to do on first down traditionally? It's run the football. In some cases, we're going to talk running back. I know you have a lot to say about the subject. So I'm going to hand it off to you now, Big O. What do you say about the running back situation in Miami and Indianapolis?
I love it. That part. Okay, first of all, let me just say I love the backs that they have now. I understand their philosophy. They're paying all those backs less than they're paying Dalvin Cook in New York. I explain it this way. The 5 most important positions in football is the quarterback, the tackle, the shutdown corner, the number 1 wide receiver, and a pass rusher. Could be an outside linebacker, could be a defensive end, depending on the scheme. You all know what I'm talking about, right? What does Greer pay? He pays Armstead. He paid Jones the corner, X the corner, and now Ramsey the corner, right? He paid Tyreek, right? And then he, who am I missing? Chubb. Agba. Chug and Agba, because once Agba proved he can pass rush, he locked him up to a multi-year deal, right? So he pays his pass rush. He pays the 5 most important. People don't pay running backs, man. I mean, we just got an education all summer long. You know, Saquon wanted out or a big deal, got neither. Derrick Henry's the biggest difference maker in the history of the planet right now. Nobody wants him. Nobody trades. Nobody says, you know what, he's 29. You can get 2-3 years left out of Derrick Henry and say, you know what, let's go pay him for. Nobody does it. Nobody does it. Aaron Jones had to take a monster pay cut along with Joe Mixon to stay there. Austin Eckler wanted out and wanted a big deal, did not get it. Dalvin Cook wanted more money, did not get it. He had to wait for Aaron Rodgers to bail him out, that the Jets boosted the offer because of Aaron Jones. And that's because of Aaron Rodgers. That's the only reason. So the Dolphins, as I told everybody throughout the whole Cook situation, they're not going to pay for running backs. I think they've proven that over and over again. So the offer, do they have an offer probably for, hey, we'll give you a 4th rounder and a 7th rounder the following year. And, hey, Jonathan, look, we can give you $6 million a year if you want. You're 24, you know. We're offering Cook 4.5, but he's 28. Well, we'll give you 6. You know, if you think they're going to offer double-digit money and they're going to offer high picks and all that, they're not going to do that. They've got to pay Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips and Sealer and Wilkins and remember, they can draft now. Remember, the Dolphins can draft now. Okay? So now that
that's a good point.
Yeah, before they sucked at drafting, and the few that came up, we would lose them all the time. They would end up leaving. And so now you're going to have the things that the good franchises, that when you draft well, you're not going to be able to sign them all. So get ready to be heartbroken because you're not going to be able to sign them all. And now you're going to get into the compensatory cycles every year. Because if you continue to hit, then you'll continue to have picks and extra players and people you won't be able to pay when it's all said and done. And all these players that they have to pay are more important than a running back. The running back is interchangeable, and they've proven it to you over and over again. Sure, they'll trade for Jalen Ramsey, but they got him for a 3rd rounder. They didn't pay anything for Jalen Ramsey. A 3rd rounder for the top 3 corner in the NFL is a joke. Do you think the Colts are going to give him away? No, they got him under control. Did they give Saquon Barkley away? No, they've got him under control. They're not giving them away, but also nobody's paying them. And it's no one's getting money. No one's being traded for. This is what I keep trying to explain to people, and everyone's doing this. No one's paying running backs. No one's dishing out multi-year deals. This guy's going to want a 6-8 year deal, whatever, 60, 80 million, 40 million guaranteed. You think they're going to do that? They're not going to do that. Those days are done. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people. So you got to save your money for these other guys that you've got to sign. And that's more important. A 7th round running back won the Super Bowl. Just go back and look at all the Super Bowls lately. There's no backs that are winning your Super Bowls anymore. They're not carrying you anymore. They're not your. And when they are your offense, guess what happens? You get eliminated in the playoffs. Ask Derrick Henry. You can't have a run-oriented offense. You have to have a pass-oriented offense that is complemented by the running back. So the running back is now a cog, not the main reason why you win. Just a cog in the machine. That's what it is. You win with tackles, you win with pass rushers, shutdown corners, number 1 wide receivers, and of course, the quarterback. Those are the important positions. You don't pay running backs. And Chris Greer has proven to us he won't pay running backs. So if you want to give Jonathan Taylor away, he'll be here with the Salvation Army bucket. But if it's not in the salvation bucket, it's not going to happen, folks. So, build yourself up all you want, but that's not going to happen.
I really fully agree with you. We've been on the same page very recently with the fact that Chris Greer, and this depends on, I guess, who you ask. And I'm asking, I believe, the right person. Chris Greer has been in the building for a very long time, but he hasn't been driving the car since around probably 2019, where he was sole control of everything along with Brandon Shaw's salary cap. But if you want to call him in charge of the draft from 2016 on, his first two picks were Laramie Tunsil, which is 15% of the core team now, and Xavier Howard, who leads the NFL in interceptions since, and our hero, you can't see, but Kenyon Drake as the third pick. So those were his first three. I can't see there are misses. I get it. But talk to us about Chris Greer. Do you grade him? What do you think? Highs, lows? What are your thoughts?
Dude, I've been covering this team for 33 years now. I've been following it for 50. This is the best team the Dolphins have had since the early 90s. It's a better team than Jimmy or anybody else built since. So he's done a phenomenal job. It's like, I know Noah missed, but dude, when you draft Minka, and he didn't, that was Flo that got him out of here. It wasn't Greer's fault or anybody else. It was Flo. But you draft Minka, and you draft Holland, you draft X, you draft Brandon Jones. Cam looks really good overall. You find Needham, you find Kohu off the street. I won't even throw Trill in there, but Trill was turning the corner last year too, and you were like, holy shit, who's this kid? I'm sorry if I could not cuss.
You're good. You're good here. Don't worry.
And so, you're like, and so to complain about Noah when you've hit on everything else pretty much in the secondary, it's crazy. And I get the Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg thing, and we get all hung up on that. But it's funny, right? Because you get hung up on Noah, Liam Eichenberg, and Austin Jackson, but you leave out Tua, Brandon Jones, and the defensive lineman, the tackle, who
Raekwon Davis, Robert Hunt, these are hits.
Yeah, they're hits. And Robert Hunt isn't necessarily like a monster hit yet because let's be honest, he's kind of teetering on either being a failure or barely being a success. Let's be honest now. He hasn't really gone to the step that we expected him. This is a contract year, so we'll see what happens. It's interesting.
Contract years are powerful. Contract years can be very powerful.
Yeah, but Jason, it's super dangerous. Because if you're the front office and the coaching staff, you're going, well, wait a minute, this guy was up and down, up and down, up and down for 3 years. So now his fourth year, he played like a monster and he was awesome. So did he do it just for the contract? Are we getting back the guy from the first 3 years again? And that happens a lot in this league. That happens all over the place. I have tons of examples of stuff like that. And then when you do give him the money and then all of a sudden he goes back to being the guy before and you're like, damn, dude, Peerless Price, Daryl Gardner, whatever. I can start going on and on of guys that, played up to one point. And then when you gave them the money, boom, that's it. You didn't get anything out of it. You know what I'm saying? And so those things are dangerous too. So Raekwon puts them in a really precarious, situation because if he goes to perform, then he had never done it before. At least with some other guys, usually you'll see stretches or a season or two that was good or bad. With him, he hasn't really had a dominant year yet. He just hasn't flashed. He's had moments, but not enough. You know what I'm saying? So, but still, it wasn't a terrible pick. And overall, it just gets, I think people get too hung up on a couple of the picks and then they forget about everything else and all the other hits that come with it. And by the way, what do we do now as Dolphin fans? We start searching for the undrafted guys now, Jason. Every year now we're wondering who are the undrafted. Like Brandon Peely now is locked into the team pretty much.
Lock. Oh, he's a lock.
Yeah, lock for sure. But then there are other intriguing guys. The tight end situation is so iffy that the Julian Hill kid kind of looks interesting there. The Brooks kid looks terrific at running back. He adds a different element to the game where really A-Chain, what's it called? Ned and Gaskin are kind of the same dude almost. You know what I'm saying? So you got a You got a redundancy there. This kid offers something a little different. You know what I mean? So now every year it's like, yo, who are the undrafted guys? You know what I mean? Tanner Connor was a guy that flashed last year, and they kept him and everything. And I'm really intrigued to see what happens with him. But that's what's happened now. Whether it's Nick Needham or Tro Williams, we start finding these undrafted guys. So all of a sudden now you're hitting also on undrafted guys. How is this not a good front office, Jason? I don't know.
You're preaching to the choir. I think me and you are literally like singing like this is like, our sermon here.
Dude, I watched the bad front offices. I used to rip them all the time. Okay? I was on a streak for almost 20 years of being so unhappy with everything the Dolphins were doing. Mm-hmm. And when I see what Chris Greer and company are doing, dude, he found a coach. Dude, he found a coach. He found a quarterback. Who the hell does that? Not named Shula.
You're right.
Seriously. Who finds a quarterback and a coach not named Shula?
They coexist, and they actually coexist. And we're going into year 2. So when Tua hasn't even had that to really, build on in college or the pros.
Now, for 2 years now. I mean, give me a break, dude. It's like, He got drafted into, and I broke the news a long time ago that I told everybody Flo never wanted him. No. That came from our show, not anybody else. And everybody else knew on our show that he wanted Jordan Love. And you found that out on our show. We told you can't go somewhere. I mean, have a relationship with your child and never pay attention to your child. Never say hi to it. Never give it love. Never nurture that relationship. Have a pet. Never nurture that relationship. See how that's going to work out. Have a plant and never nurture that relationship. My God, Flo never nurtured that relationship. He didn't care to nurture it. How do you succeed when people are pretty much against you? You know what I mean? You can't.
Great question.
It's just to me what Chris Greer has done, and he screwed up with Flo, but he fixed it with Mike McDaniel. And then he found a young coach that could do what Flo and Philbin couldn't do. Jason, they couldn't build staffs. And by the way, when they hired Philbin, I told everybody on my show, I was at QAM then, I said, this is going to be a disaster because I knew people in Green Bay building. And they were like, he's been here his entire career. We're not letting out any of our coaches. How's he going to build a staff? Right there, I told everybody on our fan base, I said, he can't build a staff. And sure enough, for the next couple of years, he couldn't build a staff. And guess what Flo couldn't do? Flo was stuck in one place for 16 years. It's funny. The coach that gets fired over and over again and hired everywhere, they laugh at him. And, this guy's had 80 jobs. Well, he's had 80 jobs because he's actually a good coach, and they keep hiring him in other places. But as you go along the way, you get to learn new systems, more coaches, more assistant coaches, and you build your Rolodex. That's the guy you end up hiring, the guy that's been through the ringer. We hired 2 guys that were stuck in their places and they never grew. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things that people don't understand. So I think this man's done an awesome job because he found a coach, he found a quarterback, and he found a young coach that can build a staff. Because when he got Fangio, holy crap. Wow. And by the way, I'm not for the Crossman thing. That's the guy I would have gotten rid of, actually.
Me too. Yeah, special teams was abysmal.
I didn't have much of a problem with Boyer, but if you're going to get Fangio, of course, you boot Boyer out, bro. Of course. I mean, give me a break. But I had a real problem with Crossman. We'll see what happens this year, okay? To be fair, I'm not a Crossman guy. He's going to have to prove it to me that he's the right guy. But offense and defense, baby, the Dolphins are golden. This is the best franchise they've had since the early 90s. And it might go into the 80s if they go and have success in the playoffs and they go deep. That'll be the difference there. And then we're starting to talk about, so how can you complain about Greer when he's kicked everybody's ass that comes before him? And now we're going to measure him up to Shula teams, not to the other teams we've had here that have been monster underachievers. So, and I listen, they haven't done anything yet. So I get it. But if I can tell you Joe Philbin sucks and he's never going to build a team before he even does anything with the Dolphins, well, then I can tell you I think the Dolphins are going to kick some serious ass. Okay? Because if I can tell you they're going to suck for many years, I have the right to tell you I think they're going to be fantastic. Okay. And I think this is a fantastic franchise now, top to bottom.
I love it. I think if you put, you mentioned going back to the 80s. So if you have that, magic on offense from like the 80s with the Marx Brothers, when I think they have a pretty good tandem here at receiver, and then you put those Jimmy defensive teams together and somehow just get that mix of those eras. Now you have the Mike McDaniel era, who I think is selfless enough to say, yeah, I'm going to bring in Vic Fangio. Let him just run the defense and you don't even have to report to me. I don't think other coaches wanted to do that. So let's talk about on-field stuff. We've got 2 games on tape. What have you liked? What have you not liked? And what could you look ahead for the finale against Jacksonville?
Well, I love this past week. I mean, the first week, there's a lot of mixing and matching and stuff. I love what they did this past week. It looked like they game planned a little bit more, and they were executing. So I'd like to see them continue doing this. But what one of the things that I as much as I like McDaniel, I ripped him pretty damn good last year a couple times because he abandoned the running game, and I was incredibly pissed, especially in the Green Bay and Buffalo games when you're respectfully averaging 7 and 9 yards a carry. Bro, keep running the ball, baby. Keep running. The Tua will be that much more dangerous if you actually run the ball. And your passing game will be that much more dangerous if you run the ball. And so the fact that he stuck with the running game, the fact that this offseason he admitted that he didn't run enough, that he even admitted that he apologized to Mostert and all that, which shows me that he's willing to grow as a coach and not be stubborn, which we've seen that here at times with different coaches and their stubbornness. And so you're willing to understand and self-scout yourself. I love that. So I just want to keep the trajectory that I saw this week, Jason. Keep running the football. The other stuff, I'm not really going to get a good feel for everything on defense yet until Fangio really unleashes the Kraken. And
it's vanilla. It's still vanilla.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything till week 1. So there's a lot of stuff that I can't tell. And I'm not going to BS you guys. I've been at this for decades now. And when I started was the end of the Shula era, okay? I started in 91, so I got the last few years of Shula, and I got Jimmy and Wanstead. And, in those days, they were still hitting a lot, 2-a-days and inside drills and all. And you got a really good feel by the time the preseason was done how good your football team was going to be. Nowadays, they just don't hit enough for you to really get a good feel compared to what we used to get back in the 90s and very early 2000. It kind of started ending in the early 2000s when they started kind of the players union, all that kind of stuff started to negotiate some extra time off and wear and tear, all that other stuff that obviously they were worried about. But yeah, so I need to see a little bit more, but I love the dedication to the running game. Because I just think you do that and everything is, going to open up. And that's what I think. So to me, I love that attitude, that part of it, because, you know who Warren Sharp is?
Yeah, he does a lot of the analytics, does great tweets.
Yeah, and the one he put last year where McDaniel had Tua, basically, he had the hardest passing game in the NFL because his attempts were way higher than see, it's funny. Oh, he doesn't throw. Oh, Tua can't throw the ball downfield. Nah, he just threw more
leader in attempts.
Yeah, he averaged more distance than everybody else on attempts, and that's because he was a little too pass happy and not enough run happy. And so now he understood that. He self-scouted it. He admitted it, which was like, oh my God, I never even see coaches do shit like that. And so that was like awesome. And that's what I want to see, Jason. I want to see the same trajectory this week, that you have the same commitment to the running game all the way through, starters and backups. I want to see that same attitude because I think, dude, look how great Skyler looked.
He improved, probably the most improved from week 1 to week 2, just from A to B. He went up.
Right. Well, but that's because they blocked. They opened up holes. They really had more of a play design set up for him. And then he looked so comfortable, Jason. That was the beautiful thing about it. And he did what he's supposed to do. When you're playing against backups, you're supposed to beat them. And that's what he did. And I thought that was really, really cool on Skyler. I was really excited for Skyler last week. That's the other thing that I would tell you that I really like, because that battle is kind of interesting. Skyler started off early on looking good, and then when the crowd came in, Mike White started kind of lighting it up a little bit more. And then Skyler really came back this week, and it'll be interesting to see how Mike White answers, because he did practice today. So it looks like he's going to get back in there, because he knows, that as the late great Mad Dog would say, there's a shoeless man outside the door waiting to take your job. And so
that's great.
Mike White knows that Skylar Thompson's ready to take his job.
That's a great segue into any, speaking of the job, Greer's got a job to do, and that's solidify this roster going into after this preseason game. Christian Wilkins is another name that we keep on hearing. Give me a comfort level of Wilkins getting locked up.
Oh, I think it'll get locked up the leading up to the game, the week of the game, right there. 7-10 days out, I think.
Okay.
They come to their senses. A lot of the posturing, and one side gives, the other side gives a little bit, and they get this thing done, and we get closer to the season. It'll be like the Damian Lillard thing with the Heat. It'll be a week or two before training camp, and Portland's like, oh God, we don't want him to show up, and then and so it'll get to a point where Wilkins knows he's got to get on the field. Dolphins know they got to maybe make a little extra push to kind of finish this thing off, and they'll get it. He's so important.
So important.
I just and they love him. So
yep.
I don't think they go contradicting themselves, how they've carried themselves, how they truly feel about him. You've seen that from the get-go. These guys kind of, and the X stuff was also tenuous.
Same idea.
And then they and Chris Greer was like super smooth throughout the whole thing, and like, hey, don't worry, and this, that, and it worked out, and it finally got done. I think it's kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? I think when the player means something, I think they find a way to get it done. And I think, it'll be a little extra painful for them, obviously, because it's a lot of money. But I think they'll get it done, bro. I think Christian Wilkins, you got to have him on your. And by the way, prediction. He gets a 6.5, 7.5 sacks this year.
Oh, I mean, that would make everyone just forget about the non-sack issue. Forget about the 180 tackles over 2 years.
Okay, so let me ask you something. This is what people don't understand. So what are the ends doing?
That's exactly right. They have the outside rush. They don't need Wilkins to get sacks.
But last year you didn't have the outside rush. And why didn't you have the outside rush? Because you had no secondary. So people can run whatever the hell they want. So now if you get your secondary back, now your pass rushers are healthy. Chubb is not in the club, and Ogba's back, and now you got your three rotations of guys here, and I think it opens it up for Christian Wilkins now, because all of a sudden now that running back that could have picked up Christian Wilkins has got to worry about a werewolf named Phillips that's going to pick up 13, 15 sacks this year. And so if the werewolf wakes up, which I think the full moon comes out this year for Jalen Phillips, and he's going to have a monster season. And I think when that havoc starts to be created, I think that's what opens it up for a very quick Christian Wilkins. And that's where I think sack numbers go up, because the elements around him are now better. Because if you really look at it, he and I'll give Jalen a lot of credit. He was really close last year to a whole bunch of sacks. That's why I think this is the year that
too.
Yeah, that's why I think this is the year he gets to those sacks he missed last year. That's why I just think it's different. But I just think Christian was like the guy that you had to scheme for. Now I think you're going to have to scheme for other things. And that's where I think it opens it up for Christian. So my prediction is 6.5, 7.5 sacks for Christian Wilkins this season. And people will calm down a little bit.
Ooh, that would be fantastic. August was a phenomenal month, honestly, for Dolphin fans all over the place, the Hall of Fame. We're going for our 4th straight winning preseason, if anybody cares about that, on Saturday, which to go with 3 straight winning seasons, I mean, we're doing some winning, but we got to do the winning in the right time.
Stay healthy, bro. I just need him to stay healthy because, to me, last year, Jason, was about injuries. Nothing else. I don't care what anybody tells me. It wasn't because they were a bad team or they weren't good enough or this and that. Hell, they made the playoffs and they had the Bills on the brink. Okay.
With Skylar Thompson.
With Skylar Thompson. And if the coach is a little bit more prepared for that, that down, maybe you even score on that drive and you eliminate the Bills. So I think people just kind of conveniently forget all the injuries and how it changed your season. But if you don't have those injuries, those 5 games, you might win 2 or 3 easily of those games. And it's a completely different season, and you're a completely different monster in the playoffs. So it's just about maturity and a little luck. And I think the Dolphins are headed for both. I think their team is maturing, and all they need now is what every team needs. When you get
Stay healthy,
deep, you had some luck, bro. You have to have some luck. That's it.
And you know what? A little bit of luck. Vegas, baby. Vegas. It's coming together, Big O.
I'll be there. And I already took them for the over. So I think they're gonna. I took them last year for the over.
You're locked in.
It was 8.5 last year, and I was feeling really good when we were 8-3, brother.
Let's not go over.
It took forever to get that 9th win, but they got the 9th win. I was confident, and I'm confident this year that they're going to go well over the double digits. They'll go to 12 or 13, like I told you earlier. So I mean, I don't know, man. I'm really confident about it. That's all. I just feel really good. I have felt so bad about Dolphin teams in the past, and I would tell Dolphin fans, yeah, I'm not expecting much, and they would hate that I would do that, but I'm not the guy who blows smoke up your, if it's not true. And this is the real deal, Dolphin fans. Enjoy it, man. Don't let this media and all these people, they got to get clicks and views. So they got to tell you the worst, or they got to create drama and all that crap. But really, if I'm you guys, stay focused, enjoy the moment, enjoy all the things going on, from Zach's Hall of Fame to watching the preseason to maybe watching this offensive line mature a little bit more. I mean, let's celebrate Kendall Lamb, dude. Did you have a backup? Did you have what looked like a competent backup left tackle last year, Jason? Help me out there.
You know what? I'm going to plead a little bit of – I was a little bit wrong on Kendall Lamb a couple of weeks ago. I said, listen, we don't want Kendall Lamb, popping in there, showing his skill. He's improved. I'm very impressed with Lamb this particular
last
offseason.
Year. Did you at least have a Kendall Lamb to start the season at left tackle? Were you like, oh my God, right? At least now you're like, hey, dude, this guy's done a pretty decent job. Maybe he found his way here. You know what I'm saying? So you just never know. And Cotton's looked really good. Isaiah had a good week. Maybe that's where your left guard gets settled with those kind of guys. You know what I'm saying?
I hope.
So they're yeah. And it's funny how, Chris Greer, well, okay, he missed on Eichenberg. You can say that, fine. But didn't he find Robert Jones to do a serviceable job last year? Didn't they find Brandon Shell, who did a serviceable job to fill in for right tackle? Okay, Austin got injured, couldn't do the job, but at least Brandon Shell was not Jesse Davis.
Whoa. Sorry to bring Jesse Davis's name into the show, but yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's so easy to take shots, but then you don't sit back and say, wow, in a pinch, they actually found some guys. And now they found this Cotton kid who, tell me, he's looked good when it's run plays. He mauls, dude. He mauls. So the pass pro is where he has to adjust a little bit, but linemen are, I've explained this on my show. You talk to scouts nowadays, which I do, and they'll tell you scouting linemen now is near impossible. Nobody run blocks anymore. They don't put their hand on the ground. You don't really, know more about pass pro because that's all they do is pass pro. And then it's all RPOs. So it's not even traditional run plays at times. So it's harder to gauge linemen nowadays. And so it becomes almost an impossible thing to figure out who's going to be good at the next level and who can run block at the next level. Because then you find out, this guy can't run block. And it kills you right there. So scouting linemen has become the hardest thing to do because of the college game, the way the college game is being played. And so that's where things have kind of changed a little bit. in quarterbacking, because of what they're doing in high school all the way through, QBs are actually learning a lot more about offenses. So they're actually advancing. You know what I mean? In some areas, some systems, others that they have just the cards, they kind of dummy them down and then that hurts them. But in quarterbacks, sometimes they're advancing a little bit more than they were in the past. Not totally, but a little bit. But linemen, oh my God, it's gone backwards. And so it's really hard. That's why the whole league has problems. The Jets have 3 holes on their line. You know that, right?
Yep.
I mean, 3 holes on their line. The Bills have 2, and the Patriots have 2, and the Dolphins have 2 also. Although maybe I might go 1 because
I'll go 1.5 and hope that we're going to go to 1 right now. Left guard needs to be figured out, but right tackle right now, is unless he proves otherwise, it's a hole unless Austin Jackson or someone just beats him to the punch and takes the job.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see, man. We'll see. It's crazy stuff, but I'm pumped for the season, man. That's all I can tell you.
Well, Big O, I appreciate you. Where can everybody find you? You're all over. Where's the best lead to you?
Well, on Twitter, Big O Show, and then our YouTube page is Big O Radio Show. That's where you can find our YouTube page, Big O Radio Show, and on Twitter at Big O Show. That's the easiest ways to follow us and all the insiders and everything that we got, and our Dolphins pre and post game show and all kinds of stuff that we do all throughout the year. And we hit the road too. So we do a lot of things that most places don't do. So appreciate the support out there.
I hope to see you down at week 3. I'll be at the home opener. Won't be making the trek to LA. It sounds like you will, though.
No. I'm home.
Okay.
I got to do post. Yeah, I do pre and post every week. So yeah,
gotcha.
I gotta work. Oh, except for actually the end of September, I'm going to Vegas for Showtime. I'm going to cover the Canelo fight.
Oh,
so I'll be doing the pre and post game show from Vegas. Actually, the Bills game, because the Bills game is on my birthday, October 1st. So yeah,
I'll be sure to wish you a big O October happy birthday then. So I appreciate you. Thanks for joining, and fins up everyone out there. This is our year. Big O said it. I'm agreeing. Have a good one, everyone.
Guys, be good out there. Fins up.